Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today I want to talk about Magistus. This deck is coming. I don't know the exact timeline it's going to be coming, but I know it is. This deck is really interesting. This deck kind of a little bit ahead of its time, and now some newer archetypes are kind of vibing with this archetype and are really going to help this archetype out. But this archetype is a spellcaster-based archetype. It's all about the lore behind Crowley. And it ties in lore for a bunch of spellcaster archetypes that already exist in Yu-Gi-Oh! So whether it's Invoked, Endymion, Witchcrafter, and I think Spellbook are the four archetypes that like kind of tie into this archetype's lore. It does some really cool things. It's all about putting your own monsters into your spell and trap zone as equipped spells, essentially. And that's become a really favorable thing with some of the new cards that have come out in the most recent years. So not only have we recently got 2 new promo cards in the OCG, we don't have them yet in the TCG, but that's okay because they don't make the deck fully playable yet on their own anyway. But they really help, and I can see a world where these cards are part of the solution to allowing Magistus to really be really good. So Magistus has been also the main lore focus for the OCG stories, which is just where they flesh out some of these archetypes and really build on the lore with like basically a manga, is my understanding of it. And when they do this, when they did this with Skystrikers for the last 2.5 years, Skystriker got between like, I want to say it's close to like 10 cards in that time frame. Not all of them were amazing, but Skystriker was also in a way different position than Magistus is now, even in the past. So Skystriker was a former best deck in the game, really successful competitive deck, and people were really happy when Engage got hit to 1 and a bunch of their cards got banned a long time ago, in 2020, I believe, early 2020. Magistus never really got off the ground. It really never was a legit powerful deck in the format. I think it had maybe a regional top or 2. It felt like, but nothing really better than that. And so I do think they're on the cusp. These 2 new cards that they've already gotten are really nice, and we're already confirmed for 2 more. Not to mention another card we'll show here that's like low-key, just like a really interesting card for the development of this deck going forward. So as far as this archetype goes, like I said, it's all about putting their own monsters in the spell and trap zone. They have a floodgatey type boss monster that keeps your opponent from activating extra deck monsters with the same type as a monster equipped to it. So you could equip links, exceeds, synchros, fusions to it, and that way you can kind of pick and choose based on the matchup what type of extra deck monster you want to floodgate out. They also have some other nice utility cards where like some of their extra deck monsters, while they're equipped to a monster, one can pop back row, one can kind of give them one of your monsters a boost. They're not the craziest cards in the world in terms of their utility when equipped. One is a link monster that does allow you to search when it's equipped to something, so that's the best one for sure. But I feel like that's something they could expand on, but we'll talk about that more in a minute. As far as the 2 new cards that they've already gotten as promos in the OCG, but we haven't gotten yet, but I do think will make a big difference, is one is Magistus Chorozo. It's a really cool Digimon-looking guy. I've already made jokes about that. Basically, you can special summon this card by sending any Fusion, Synchro, Exceed, or Link monster card and one spellcaster monster card you control to the graveyard. I think it's very specific the way it's worded, where it says Link monster card and spellcaster monster card, which means all that matters is that the card is a monster. It does not have to currently be active as a monster. So if you have one of your extra deck monsters in the spell and trap zone and a spellcaster in the spell and trap zone, those cards in the spell and trap zone can entirely pay for the summoning condition of this card. So this card feels very free. It doesn't do much when it's on the field, but it is just a level 4 tuner that does allow you to extend, still a spellcaster, and has Magistus in the name, which could matter as well, depending on what new cards we get. So really nice card there. That makes a lot of their... It really helps turn this archetype being able to put your cards in the spell and trap zone into a legit bonus that gets you advantage, which is really nice. The other new card is Spoon, the Seal of Magistus. So this is a dude. I'm sorry. I thought it was a lady at first, but it's a dude. Good for him because he's fucking sweet. His effects are awesome. So you can discard him just to straight up Rhoda for any Magistus monster from deck to hand. So this is just 3 more copies of your better starters, which are Riliona and Zorua. I think Zorua's probably the better one overall right now, unless we get better new cards down, soon. Or you can also half the attack of one face-up monster your opponent controls to the end of this turn. I don't expect to use that effect that often, but like it could come up legitimately. You also, and this is also what makes this card really nice, because it basically turns this card into a +1 straight up, because you can banish this card from your grave to target a monster you control and equip it with a Magistus monster straight from your extra deck or graveyard. That's so good, because you can get a little bit of the utility. If you haven't gone into the link yet, boom, you equip the link now can search you a card, and that link is just now one of those bodies that pays for half the cost of Magistus Chirozzo. Or the third piece here that I think is a little bit underappreciated right now, Snake Eyes Damn Dragon. This card is pretty powerful as well. It's pretty similar, actually, to Magistus Chirozzo, but I think it'll come up in different circumstances. So this is actually a level 8 fire dragon, and he can either be fusion summoned or just special summoned by sending 2 face-up monster cards from your spell and trap zone to the graveyard. So with even less specific requirements than Chirozzo, you can just plop on a level 8, 3K beater that... by the way, also when it hits the field, lets you target a face-up monster on the field and place it face-up in its owner's spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. So it is removal, it is a big body that can potentially attack into something else from there, and it's a level 8, which also low-key kind of works with Magistus. You have some level 4 tuners, so potentially abusing some level 12 synchros, maybe even some level 8 exceeds, becomes a lot easier there. And it also is just another tool where... if this card didn't exist, Magistus may have bigger problems going second, but now you can actually just make this card, putting these monsters in, equipping them, isn't doing a ton for you, but now when you do it like this, it does allow you to, turn those into something that actually pushes into your opponent's board. Chirozzo could come up in that it's a level 4 tuner and has Magistus in the name and is a spellcaster, so there will be scenarios where Chirozzo is more useful than Snake Eyes Damn Dragon, but I do think there are scenarios where the Damn Dragon will be better as well. So I think that's really, really cool. These 3 cards, I think, are significantly useful tools for Magistus, and we're even in a position where we have 2 more coming. So we've already been confirmed basically by some of the art that this should be a new version of Crowley. It's possible it's a reprinted alt art of Crowley or Alistair even, but Alistair already has an alt art, so I don't think they do a second alt art of Alistair. I think it's possible it's an alt art for the Crowley that the deck already has, which, by the way, is not very good. I really hope that's not the case. And then this guy down here, I think they already said, is already kind of being alluded to as a new form for Zorua. And Zorua's already one of the better monsters in the main deck for the deck already, and so I'm not too opposed on that one. Now, that being said, in the past couple of years, while Sky Striker has been the main OCG Stories archetype, it's only gotten 2 cards every time it's been in premium packs. So I don't expect there to be more than these 2. If these are the 2 new cards, I expect those to be the 2 new cards. But there's some things I specifically am looking at with Magistus on what I hope we get out of this. So as far as what we're missing, what it feels like the archetype wants, the first thing is this. The archetype now has, with Chirozzo, has 2 fusions, 2 synchros, 2 XYZ monsters, and 1 link. So I do think another link monster is certainly on the table. I would think a link 2. I don't think they'd give them another link 1. Artemis is a really good card. It's the best extra deck monster, actually, in the archetype, which, is really good. It's a good card. I'd want to see something else. I don't even know exactly what I want it to do, but like another link 2. And on that like topic, as far as new tools go in the extra deck, something I really, really want to see, and it doesn't even have to be that strong. I want one of the extra deck Magistus monsters, while it's equipped to a monster, specifically a Magistus, if they want to give it that stipulation, I want it to be an interruption. It doesn't have to be the most powerful interruption in the world. It can be an impermanence effect, but if it does it once per turn while it's equipped and it's a quick effect, I'd be really happy with that. Or like turn after turn, you can keep answering your opponent's monster effects. But we all know that imperm effects are not the most powerful interruptions on the world. They could give it a Farfa effect where it temporarily removes an opponent's monster, even though it will come back. So that's sort of the little drawback there, but an okay interruption. Same thing with a Dryden effect. Just pop something, right? targeting destruction is the worst kind of removal there is in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! I think those types of things could be totally fine, especially if the on-field effects are just okay from the card, right? If the main purpose of that card is you just have to play it, so that way you can equip it and get the utility out of it, I think that would be an immensely useful card, because even in the face of the Mulcharbeans and stuff, and this is a big part of formats going forward, just being able to go normal summon Zora effect equip like a simple interruption card to him. Like you summon Zora and your opponent responds with, you know, Mulcharmies, whatever. Just being able to go equip this new card we're talking about, and then we're like, okay, well now we also just have an imperm. You didn't draw a single card with Fool Loss, and you neg one. I kind of +1 and got an interruption out of it. Plus Zora was sort of a follow up in his own right, and then like that's okay if you have like non-engine in hand, right? So not only for those lines, but also just like it feels like really all the engine does right now is just kind of make the Zora exceed, which is the floodgate guy we talked about earlier. It really feels like they need some kind of assisting way to add extra interruption to the board. So I think that would be really, really keen. I think a Link 2 would just make a lot of sense. The deck, even if you are able to get multiple bodies on the field, the Synchros and Exceeds are just not really that good on the field. They're really not. There's one that summons like a Magistus monster from deck, but even when you do that, it hard locks you into Magistus monsters from there. So it's like, what are we doing from there? Like, not that much, it feels like. And it just doesn't feel like enough. So if they make a Link 2, I'd kind of be appreciative if it's like somewhat generic, where it can just take any spellcasters. That way potentially other spellcaster extenders like Magician Souls or whatever other just easy extending, you know, even obviously Diabell Star, right? Just like simple spellcaster extenders now that help us actually push the engine and keep it rolling forward could be really, really cool. And then as far as the main deck goes, the spells and traps are not that good. Really Ona searches all the spells and traps, but there are no traps, and the spells are just okay. There's one that's like pulls Magistus like spellcasters out of the hand. There's one that can be like a Reborn, and there's one that can equip from the extra deck as a quick effect. That's probably the best one in my opinion. But also, in that same vein, we're still in a position, like I said, where like equipping Artemis is good because Artemis can search while it's equipped. But other than that, a lot of your lines go through Artemis and pretty early. So what are the utility are you getting? I guess it's half the material for stuff like Chorozo and Damn Dragon to just get the extension into those. But still, that's like the best target anyway. And then there's a Fusion, but the Fusion's not even that crazy, to be honest. And Iwas isn't that good anyway to be putting that kind of material into him. I just really don't feel it there. So maybe some kind of spell or trap that's like an actual starter, or like extender / starter could be really cool, but I don't know exactly how I'd want it to function. And the last thing I would probably say is an extender. The extenders are non-existent. I mean, they're sort of existent, but they're bad. They're bad, bad, bad. It's basically Crowley. As far as in-archetype Magistus named monsters, like searchable Magistus monsters, it's just Crowley. And Crowley summons himself as a level 4 body by pitching another spellcaster from hand. Rough. Like, and it does, like, he does, like, nothing else. Like, he can banish himself to, like, re-equip something from grave, which, like, is a little better now that we can actually make use of those equips, but, man, its card is, like, such a neg extender. The deck definitely needs a better version of an extender than him. It would be immensely appreciated in archetype because he'd be super searchable, and he's just not strong enough. He's not pushing the engine enough. So I'd really love to see an improvement on a new extender monster in the main deck as well. So that's what I'm looking at here. If they want to put those extra deck tools kind of combined, where if they make a new Link 2 and it is a card to summon him and extend into him, he helps you push your engine and keep your ball rolling, especially playing through interruption, as well as when he is equipped, he had, like, you know what I mean, he gives the ability to be a just okay interruption. I think that would kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and that would be an incredible piece for the archetype. And then as well, like I said, maybe 1 good spell or trap, and then a new extender spellcaster that is just better than the ones we have access to right now. That would be the big things for me. But, you know, we'll have to wait and see. 2 cards, hopefully, that are brand new. Hopefully they're good. The other thing I wanted to mention is Sky Striker support was not always that good. They got Linkage, they got Cyanos, they got, like, Camellia and Azalea. But those cards really didn't do that much to make Sky Striker that much better. I think Linkage is probably the best card overall for them. I say that to say this, and I mentioned this earlier. Sky Striker has been the best deck in the game. So I think when a deck has already been at the pinnacle of competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Like that, Konami is very hesitant to make really strong support for those archetypes. In that same vein, because Magistus never got off the ground competitively and has the lore tie-in of Witchcrafters, Spellbooks, Endymion, and Invoked, this archetype being good could maybe even just, like, you know what I mean? Like, could just raise a ton of interest because a lot of players probably have an eye on this archetype just as, like, I love Spellbooks. That's a cool archetype that kind of ties in lore-wise with one of my favorite archetypes. And for all the others as well. So this archetype being tied into so many and just lore and current stuff that's going on with stories, I really think it makes sense for Konami to, like, actively try to make this archetype at least decent. It doesn't have to be amazing, but a rogue deck that's like a legit playable rogue deck where you have to respect it is what I'm hoping for here. So I think it has a legit chance because it's not being held back by the fact that it's been at the pinnacle before competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! So Konami's not scared of making this archetype too good. I really do think it has a chance here. So I really hope it comes to fruition. We'll obviously see as we go. But yeah, those are my overall thoughts. Really excited to see Premium Pack is coming out, I think the 21st of December in the OCG. So my guess is, like, basically through December they'll be getting into reveals here. They could even get in started with a couple in late November, but we're gonna learn sooner than later. The next month and a half, we're gonna find out what these new cards do. And low-key, Premium Pack has had some pretty good cards in it. If you look through the past Premium Packs, there's actually been some pretty decent stuff in there before. So I'll definitely be bringing you guys that whenever those reveals come out. But I've rambled long enough about an archetype I really like that has never been good and maybe won't. The other benefit is Sky Striker got 2 straight years of being OCG story. So even if these 2 cards aren't what takes Magistus to the next level, I am hopeful that if another promo or 2 throughout 2025 and maybe even next year's, you know, December Premium Pack, maybe 2 more Magistus cards. So I don't think this is all they're going to get anyway, because like I said, Sky Striker got like 10-ish cards in that time frame. These could be it. These could be the cards that take us there, but they don't even have to be, because they might just work in and be good, and then it all comes together next year. We'll have to wait and see, though. I'm out of here, though. I've rambled long enough. Thank you for listening. If you made it this long, subscribe to the channel, because I'll bring you much more Magistus content, especially as new cards come out and they become playable and the deck gets better. Other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Subscribe for more. Peace.